Right, good evening everyone. Okay, so tonight we're going to be doing some sculpting on some of this month's miniatures. I've been working through Descent into Avernus for quite a while. Wilkie, good to have you in the stream again. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. What time is it there in on your neck of the woods? So today I'm doing a continuation of Descent into Avernus. So this is everything I've done so far takes us up to 3 PM. So when I normally stream at 10 o'clock in the morning and you're on there and watching that, does that mean you're you're just full on insomniac, staying awake all night? Or you're just an early riser? Right then, so the sculpts I've done so far for this month, we've done I've just done a new version of Phallus the Fisk, just here. So this is him in attack pose. So there's already a version of him with his hands behind his back, kind of unarmed and whatnot. And then this is a version of him kind of kitted up, ready for a good scrap. So as an NPC. So he is done. The next one I need to get done for this month's set, which is the final part of this month's set, is the Cambion. So Cambion is a male devil / demon with wings and horns, basically like a male version of a succubus demon, I suppose. This guy is part of the Order of the Shield, I think they're called, or Knights of the Shield. It's also to do with some cult, some knightly cult, kind of like Templars, but trying to bring back a demon who is bound inside a shield. So yeah, basically for this guy, let me just get my reference material up on my screen up above. Not one you're looking at, so you won't see it, but yeah, well, okay, that makes sense. I suppose you don't want to be bogged down by web traffic at peak times. Doing a bit of work on the evenings makes a lot of sense. Okay. So let's just have a little look. So basically, we're looking at just like a red devil, essentially. Yeah, just a red devil with horns kind of thing. Bit of armour maybe. So this isn't going to be like the Advernus guys. This is going to be the Order of the Shield. And what I've decided I'm going to do with these guys, I'm going to make them quite Saracen looking. So if I just have a look at Saracen armour as a reference. This is a bit of a different sculpting session to what I've done previous, where I've had an image on screen. This one there is no reference to work from. This is me designing on the fly, so this is me concepting in 3D, which is a completely different process to what I have done on other streams. So this is essentially going to be me doing a little bit of trial and error, having an idea in my brain and trying to get that into a 3D form, whilst at the same time kind of possibly doing a bit of work and then discarding stuff because I don't like it. So there may be some wasted creativity time at 8 o'clock at night, so it's not necessarily going to be flowing too freely, I don't think. So I've been working all day on it as well, so I've not been you know, this isn't like I've just turned my computer on. This is me starting my work day. I've done my work day, and I'm doing an extra slug of it at the end now. So I'm actually thinking. So the normal Order of the Shield Knights, I'm going to give these guys the Saracen look. The Cambion, I think I might go for something along the lines of, remember the Immortals from the 300 movie, where they had the masks and everything else? I may do a similar kind of thing to that, but not necessarily with the mask, if you know what I mean. I want him to still look like a devil. So again, just looking at reference images. In fact, you know, I'll bring this down on screen. You can have a little look at what I'm looking at while I'm going through. So I'm just looking at Saracen armour. Just looking at the armour designs. We've got these nice like splint mail type designs here going on. With baggy trousers and whatever, so that's probably the styling I'm going to go with for the normal guys. Possibly something along this, you know, with a nice bit of fantasy in there as well, so not just purely, you know, historic. Let's have a look at the 300 Immortals. Let's see what inspiration we can take from them. So it's mostly going to show us masks, isn't it, if I'm honest. The breastplate on that kind of thing would work actually. I can make something like that work. That's quite samurai-esque actually, the way that's that one's done. So maybe samurai is a better direction to take it in. That one's nice. And that's a little bit more fitting with the fantasy theme, but it does step away from the you know, the kind of the Middle Eastern aesthetic that I want to try and get. So decisions. Do you know what? I'm just going to start sculpting and see what happens. That's I spend too much time pondering here. I'll be all day on it. So let's go down. Let's get this guy done up. I'm going to give him a normal head. So I haven't got anything isolated on this guy so far. So if I just pop my there we go. Okay, so the torso musculature, I'm quite happy with that. I've got no issues with the basic anatomy. I might even leave him bare chested, you know, and give him. Oh yeah, let's do that. I'm going to leave him bare chested. I'm going to give him armoured legs. I'm going to give him from the like gauntlets up to the shoulders. I'm going to do his arms all armoured up. And then he's going to have like a bare chest because he's got wings coming out of his back, and obviously he's a devil, so you know they only need so much armour, don't they? Okay, so just shrink some of this down. So size-wise, he's just normal human size. He's not too big, not too small. So 32mm to the eyes, as usual, is fine. Let's leave that over there. Let's just push that over to the side. We'll go for. Oh, I've got some. I feel like I kind of want to take the hands that I've done. Do you know what, actually? I've got an idea. For the hands, I'm just going to delete them for now. Let's duplicate this torso, this whole body. So when I'm concepting in 3D, what I tend to do is I'll duplicate it, and then I'm going to come around here and I'm just going to build up on the base mesh. So whatever I want to kind of draw in, I can do it here. Just going to sculpt it in. I'm literally just blocking it in, building it up, like I'm just sculpting over the top of the anatomy. There's nothing, so there's no kind of like paying any careful attention to any kind of like geometry or anything else. I'm literally just trying to see what works, and then once I get kind of shapes and forms that I like the look of, I'll commit to them, and then we'll go back and do the old what do you call it, sharpen up the ridges with the orb cracks tool, and go in the H polish. Okay, so we're going to go to there. I'm going to take it to the bicep, I think will be about the maximum level of it. Actually no, I'm going to come onto the chest a touch. Let's see if we can't get this one done quite quickly. Let's bring this round here. Whoops, let's not go there with that. It's too far around. I need to allow the wings to be able to move. Okay, so oops. Okay. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to draw this. I'm going to put a strap between here. I might put a ring in the middle of that. So we'll put like a little ring in the middle of the strap as a kind of a binder, and then we'll put one across the back here, but that's just going to be like a solid piece. That's not going to be what do you call it, strapped on or anything, ringed in. And then arms here, so let's see, so we can either go for like overlaying layers, overlapping layers, or we can go for like a more solid plates. I don't really fancy messing around with chainmail, so I'm going to stay away from that. So we'll stick with plate, I think. And I'm going to try and ornate this up and give it a little bit of a demonic flair, a little devil flair kind of thing. So rather than just being just bog standard plain armour, there'll be something a little bit different about it. Okay, let's try this. So we've got the arms there. I'm going to do another layer on the gauntlet here. So this is going to this is going to give them a little bit of interest in the design. I'm going to come to this like a pointed crest at the top here, and I think I'm going to do like ridge lines down the back, so it's going to come to the whole arm will come to a point. The bicep I'm going to encase in plate, I think. And then we'll have to do some kind of like elbow pads to obviously protect the elbows, but also to link the armour together. The more I'm doing this, the more I'm thinking I should be doing chainmail below the armour plate. But chainmail on miniatures really sucks. There's not really an easy way of doing it. There's lots of different ways of doing it, and they all have varying degrees of success. And the problem is with a miniature, like when I used to sculpt green stuff, you never actually bothered sculpting the chainmail. We used to just do like rows of holes going in different directions. So you'd do the first row and you'd basically go in at a 45-degree angle with a pin going that way. And when you do the second row, you go in that way. And then as you go in up the material, the fabric, you end up getting this kind of like little S bend. Oh yeah, you put the pin in like this, and then you do that with it, and it kind of like creates like a ridge. So you're not just putting a hole in; you're basically pushing up a little ridge. And when you come back on the other side and you do it, you get the kind of the old school chainmail design that you used to see on all the old Games Workshop metal miniatures back in the 90s and whatever. And there's not really an easy way of replicating that in Zbrush, unfortunately. So you've got a couple of not so great options. Obviously, because people see the renders, the temptation is to kind of make it as realistic as possible, and try and get the chainmail to look like chain. But I don't know, it just never feels right to me, that doesn't it? You know, it's not how it would be, and it feels kind of wrong. I can't really explain it any better than that. It's like when you see, if you use an actual chainmail design, it's too fine and too thin. You have to do a stylized version. And the best kind of chainmail stuff I've actually seen is using actual chain, and then running it in rows so that it'll kind of like you'll have multiple chains kind of overlapping each other, and that kind of has a better chain look. But obviously that's not what chainmail is. It isn't anything to do with chains. It's interlinked metal rings that are riveted together, and they kind of create this like woven mesh, and that's difficult to recreate the look of. And if you look at it from a distance, I mean, if I get let's just look at chainmail here. And this is the kind of thing we need to kind of like look at and try and consider. So this is your effect here. This is what your chainmail looks like. So you've got the little rings, and obviously you've got like one ring with 4 rings attached in the corner. It's basically like a row. You've got a row of rings in one orientation, and the next row of rings basically hooks through. So one ring picks up the 2 of the rings below and keep going. So it's quite a you can do it like with a bit of geometry and just, you know, making a simple ring and then just creating like an insert mesh or a nano mesh or something like that. But they are they're tricky on the models, and the problem is when you do a nano mesh or you do something like that, you get the gaps behind the rings here that you can see. So if we're looking at the oops, let's have a little look. But if we look at the ring design, all of these rings kind of, as I've said loads of times, they need to go straight through to penetrate the model below. So you don't want to have any void or any hollowing underneath, and that's where it gets tricky. So you basically need this circle, this ring, but you need it to have enough depth to it that it's going straight through into the body. So a stylized version of Asian hex grid pattern for chainmail. I could do, but again, my reservation here is that I only want it in this gap, just here between the arm, between the bicep and the elbow. So there's not even going to be a lot of it on display, and because there's so little of it, I don't want to spend a long time trying to make it look good. When actually the time I would spend on it is kind of, is better spent elsewhere on the model. So I've said on many streams now, there's times and areas you need to focus your attention on, and kind of design theory for these models is kind of 30% of detail areas with 70% resting space, and keeping those kind of like large planes, keeping them simple. A little bit of detail in the elbows and stuff isn't too bad, but I don't want anything that's going to really detract from it. And I think the kind of the hex type, the hex grid type stuff that you're talking about, mate, is more of like a feature you would have as a theme on a model. So like if chainmail was the dominant thing, that's when you kind of spend that bit of time creating the unique look and the nice aesthetic. And for what I'm trying to achieve here, it's not gonna pay dividends, unfortunately. I'd spend a lot of time trying to get into the intricacies of it, and it wouldn't ultimately pay off. I mean, often I would just sculpt cloth in there, to be honest, and I have done with that, and I'm tempted to do that now, if I'm honest. Can I? Let me just see if I can recreate the old school chainmail look a second. So we'd have like a row. Oops, let's do this. So we'd have a row of holes, and then above we'd have a row there. And then the next way, like that. And again, remember, it's not about what this looks like on the miniature, it's about how it paints. So that in itself is ropey, but then when you start doing, we start adding like we start doing that to it. So the right hand side of the top one, left hand side of that one. So we're gonna follow this kind of this S-shaped pattern with it. And I actually think this is a quicker way for me doing it than trying to be clever with like not formulas, but like like insert meshes and stuff like that. And this isn't final. I'm not committing to this. I'm just trying to demonstrate one of the techniques I've used in the past for sculpting chainmail, but never digitally. I just want to see if it'll work here. Now I think that is not terrible for chainmail on a miniature. So let me just turn off the poly groups and stuff. So there we go. So like, seeing that there, that I know full well that is going to take a dry brush. So if I let me just try and find. There we go. Let's get me pals at Footsore Miniatures up. Right, so Footsore Miniatures, they do some absolutely lovely historical figures. And you can just actually, there's a little orc on screen here. You can see, which kind of illustrates what I'm getting at. But here, so you can see these Welsh knights on the screen. All of these models are traditionally sculpted, so the chainmail will have been sculpted in the exact method I was just describing to you. So again, cocktail stick or like an awl type tool with like a pin head, and you layer in a row at a 45-degree angle with the needle at a 45-degree angle, and you press it into the putty all the way across in a row. And as you push push it in, so it hits the surface there. It hits the surface like that, and as the needle goes in, you just push it up a bit like that, and that creates that little ridge line around the outside of the thing. The ridges are what is going to pick up on a dry brush. The holes are what you're going to get in a wash. So what you would do with chainmail, paint it all black, get a kind of a dark silver colour like gunmetal or a chainmail type colour, or steel or something like that, and then I'll say dry brush it. So brush all the paint off your brush and then just drag it lightly across the surface. It gives you a similar kind of effect. It's not chainmail on these guys, but you can see how the armour comes up on that. So how that silver is done, that's kind of the way you would paint the chainmail. So we want something that's going to showcase the painting or not showcase the painting technique, but it's going to work with the painting techniques that are going to be applied to it. So yeah, if you're into historical miniatures and you like your old knights and Vikings and all that kind of stuff, definitely check out Footsore. And Mark at Footsore, he's a big fan of like old school orcs. He loves the ones from like the old 1980s collections at GW, and they've had these ones commissioned now. They've got a nice little set of like 4 of them. I popped in to see him yesterday, the new premises in Nottingham. So he's got like these sitting on his desk. I think he's quite pleased to be getting some painting on with these. So yeah, so I mean that little bit of chainmail there, that took me far less time to do that than it would have taken me had I tried to like make a nano mesh or an insert mesh and faffed around with all the geometry, because you have to have like proper square topology. Like you have to have the surface like Z remeshed so that you've got proper kind of like large sized squares in there that you can turn into like nano meshes and things, or you have to UV unwrap it, find an alpha, wrap an alpha around, and all this kind of stuff. And it's always a faff. And the problem I always have is you can do this in an unposed format. When you try and pose chainmail that's been made in that way, it never poses. So your only option is to do it after it's been posed. So in that respect, doing this, I think, is probably going to be the simplest way to make it effective. So let's go with it. You can also go where I've done the ridges going down like this. You could also go this way across the armour. So you could do these kind of like the S-shaped ridges this way. and just change the orientation of the what do you call it, like the chain link effect. And either will work. There's no right or wrong way of doing it, but we'll go with that. I was going to run the undo a few hundred times and get rid of all of that now, because that will go on a separate layer. This layer at the moment, I just want to use this for armor. So we'll take the so this will be a chain vest, I think, like a chain link. What do we call it? Like a bolero? Well, I don't know. There'll be chain in here. We'll have chain up here. I'm going to put some funky shoulder pads on him, because why not? And what's going on here? That's what's going on. So we'll have the funky shoulder pads, and then we'll have the layered gauntlets, and then I'll emulate the armour designs that I settle with on his arms up here. I'll settle with them on his legs as well, so I'll mirror the visual aesthetic of that. Let's just get the basic shape in here first, and then I'll come back and refine edges, deal with like shapes, shape language, all that kind of good stuff. So I want to keep this guy quite simple, because I don't want him to take an absolute age. We've got a little bit of anatomy to make use of there, so I'm gonna make use of the anatomy that's there. So like I say, the torso we're gonna leave exposed. The wings are gonna be a pig. I don't like doing wings. Luckily they're not feathered wings, so it's not going to be the worst job in the world. Okay, so let's just polish this out. Yeah, we've got the kids off on half term at the moment, so I spent the afternoon in my office today. It was Willow's birthday in a week or so, 2 weeks. So we just trying to get all the birthday presents and everything ready. So Hayley went off shopping, couldn't take the kids with her for obvious reasons, so they spent the afternoon crashing in here. But so far we're on Wednesday, they've had a full-on half-term week, and it's left them kind of lagging today. You can tell the pair of them, they were just both knackered. So it's all good. Okay. I'm just polishing this. I'm trying to just have a look at the. I want to try and get rid of all of these like little facets and things. I don't want too many. But you get a hard change in the light, a hard shift in the light. I'm looking at it. See, like here, I've got like a bit of a plane going on there, I think, as well. So anywhere I can see like a harsh transition from a shadow to a highlight, I'm just trying to like just very gently feather them out. Somewhere. Right, and then the next layer above, I just need to go and just blend in some of that at first. So I'll just a couple of light strokes over it just to raise the level up of the arm below. trying to bring it up to that ridge that I've created. Very, very gently, just, I'm not pressing too hard because I don't want a massive, if I press too hard now I get that going on. I don't want that. Which is fine, it's a build up tool, so it is fine to have that and to use that, but I don't want to build it up that drastically at the moment. I just want to kind of get that, I want to try and match the level that I've created here. I might even just do this on just one arm. I like a bit of asymmetry. I might actually drop one of the armoured arms altogether and just keep a bare flesh arm. Maybe have a gauntlet on it, but just lose the rest of the armour. In fact, that sounds like a good idea to me, that does. Because then I can, rather than having these connecting straps running across the back, what I can do, I can just take this one side and I can do a like a diagonal, like this kind of thing. This is what I say. This is where it's a fluid process. So I can bring that round here like this, and then maybe round to there. Like that sort. So I can scrap this arm for now. Let's delete that. This side over here, I'll just scratch that. Now, should that join at the bottom there, or should it come up? Because we are going to have wings on here. It's going to have to go across and connect to something, isn't it? Because that little diagonal strap is not going to hold it to anything. If anything, that's just going to make it fall down all the time. If it came up a bit, it might be a little bit more. Will that work? If it's up here, let's go across. If it comes straight across and goes under the armpit, that might work. Decisions, eh? Oh. Okay, so I'll carve all this stuff away that I don't need. I can reactivate the mesh below, and I can see how it looks. This is why I always copy the original mesh rather than just sculpt straight over the top. When you're concepting, you want to keep the original body form underneath, and then that means that when you're doing your kind of your iterations and changing things and tweaking things, you can always just carve stuff away, and you haven't got to be quick, like, you know, clean and elegant about it. You just need to just literally just gouge it out, and I've just done that. So this is what it'll look like below, which is frankly bloody awful. But when I reactivate the actual base mesh, then we're left with this kind of thing. So we can still see the stuff I'm sculpting in. It's all there. It just doesn't have. Why is that gone like that? That's weird. It just doesn't have the what do you call it? I'm not affecting the base model, if you like. So let's just get rid of all of that stuff. And what I can do is, when I want to kind of finalise this, if I just gouge right into that, so if I just take that right down there, gouge right down, deep as I need to go, I can ultimately mask and delete like chunks of this body that I don't want to keep. But I can do this, I can carve right in like this. And then I can dynamesh it, so let's bump the resolution up a bit, polish it, dynamesh. Okay, and right, so now I can use the H polish tool again. I can come into the edge that I've just carved away and polish across the top. And that will help to create a smooth, what do you call it? A nice defined like form between the body and the. Just turn it back on again. There you go. So we've got a much cleaner shape going on. So it is all what do you call it? It's all like free sculpted and whatever. But we've got nice definition without having to spend ages and ages and ages, like, you know, faffing around with like masking and what do you call it, like mesh. What do we call it now? Like mesh extractions and all that kind of stuff. And this gives us a nice quick, because I can rough something out fast doing this, make multiple changes to it along the way and not have to commit to anything. And if I change my mind and decide I don't like it, like I did 3 or 4 times with that with this original design, you don't have to worry about over committing to it, because you just rough it in until it feels right, and then when it feels right you can go in and do this, refine it, polish it up, clean up the edges and make it nice and smooth. Now originally, I will say as well, tonight was going to be a crystal collapse sculpting session but I'm a little bit behind on this stuff, so I needed to get on and do some of this. And Max, who I wanted to actually get on the next stream when we were doing the crystal collapse minis, he is on burnout from rolling with Nanolith, doing Essen and everything else. So he is taking a week off with the family. So he's off on some jollies, caravanning somewhere, I think. So Max, if you happen to be tuning in and listening to this at any point, hope you're having a lovely time. So again, yeah, just using this ridge line I've just sculpted in with the All Cracks brush. So alternating between holding the Alt key and not holding the Alt key with the H polish tool, and I'm polishing in like little circles, little circular motions, up to that line, up to that ridge line, and I want to try and sharpen it all up and create a nice nice creased ridge there. If it goes all wonky, there's a couple of options you've got. You can either keep using the polish tool and try and knock it back into line with the polish. We've got to look at the shape of it as well, so there's a big curve in this one. I'm going to need to bring the wrist part up more for when we actually put the hands on. So I'm going to bring that up, and I'm going to use this to create the line. Craven Horde, welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. So I'm just going to use the movement tool to just nudge this up a little bit and kind of straighten this out. And again, right up to here. Now this little bit, I'm just going to mask this off because I want to push this bit back down, and then just straighten it out again. There we go. Right, so while that is masked off, just while I'm thinking on this, would you guys want to see any like green stuffing at any point? Is that something that would interest you, or do you just want to stick and see the the digital stuff coming together? So I have contemplated doing a few like bits and bobs on like conversions, adding things like fur and chainmail and armor plates and stuff onto your existing models. But again, I don't know if it's something that you guys want to see me do, or if you've got other people you want to watch doing that, or I think it might be something nice, a little bit of something different at some point. So I want to do a couple of painting streams eventually. I want to get around to, once I'm a bit more caught up with the sculpts and stuff, and I'm on top of the workloads, I can get a bit of painting time in. And then there'll be occasions where, like my Wednesday night streams, I'm planning, they're going to end up being I'm going to end up being confined to the house rather than being able to come down the office if the wife's out. So if that ever happens, likelihood is I'm going to end up doing a painting stream from the house rather than trying to do sculpting down there. Because I'd have to move my whole setup, and that's just not going to work. So yeah, those kind of situations I'm quite happy to go through. Need my lazy mouse back on. With lazy mouse off, I don't know if you noticed then, these ridge lines are coming in really kind of intense, and there was no like feathering in of the strokes. If I do a stroke like this, you can see it's got a soft start and end. If I turn lazy mouse off and do it, it just comes in full force. It's just hard all the way through, with like a real intensity that it just literally just starts and stops. And that's not what you want to. It's got its place, but again, it's about knowing the tools and figuring out the best way to apply them and where they work for you. Yeah, the one thing I don't miss about doing the putty work was making armatures. I absolutely used to hate making armatures. For a while I used to solder them up, so I'd make a little rig out of board where I'd got like little nails in, and the nails were like marking all the joints and things. And I used to line the armature wire up on my board and have a soldering iron. Like, you have to scrub the wires to clean them up and everything, get everything cleaned, and then solder it, and then inevitably they break off at some point, and before you manage to like skin it all up and everything, then you have to do your pose straight away. So you've got to get all your proportions dead right, make sure your elbows and everything are in the right place. Envision your pose in this like skeleton, in this wire skeleton stickman thing, and then skin it with a layer of putty so that your putty's got something to stick to, because putty does not want to stick to wire, so you end up having to like get this real messy, manky looking kind of green stickman on a cork, and it just sucks, man. I hate that bit. But yeah, working through then like sculpting all the musculature and stuff, it's such a slow process, because when you use like like green stuff, you've got a very limited working space in terms of like time, because you can only do like half an hour of work on a piece before the green stuff starts firming up, or so. Maybe an hour if you mix a bit more yellow than blue. And the epoxy just starts curing up solid, and it's it's just a tough one to kind of manage. Then you have to like mix up smaller portions of green stuff, so you're not wasting loads. Inevitably, you still end up wasting it. Let's get that in. Lose that ridge. Get this looking smoother. Oops, let's turn that lazy mouse back on. There we go. So, I feel like that needs a bit more shape as well, so I'm going to have to put a ridge in here, I think. Actually, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to, let's just isolate this lot. Give me a bit more control over the whole. I'm just going to mask all the stuff off that I don't want to keep and kill it. Let's just get rid of the stuff I do want to keep. Again, I don't have to be too clean with the masking on this. I just want to make sure that nothing I want to keep is masked. The rest of it, if the little bit of it unmasked, it's not the end of the world. So I'm going to group mask now, isolate that. You can see I've got the hole at the top and I've got the hole at the bottom, which is all I want. Delete hidden closed holes, and let's re-dynamesh that with a polish. And I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to duplicate that, sorry. I'm just going to buff out the raised ridges here. So, you can see I've got a little bit of an issue here, where there's like a little pit. So I just want to try and like even out this strap, so this is like an even, consistent thickness all the way around. So now I've got these arm chunks and I'm going to slice them off. So in the same way I was just masking off the other bits, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take the armour here, so I'm going to mask off the bicep bit, because this is going to be quite tricky for me to kind of maintain this and shape it without having this bit isolated. So I'm just going to group masked, split hidden, and then I've got that now. So when I close holes, I've got the top of the bicep, I've got the bottom of the bicep, and the bit in the middle is out and it's solid. The bottom part here, I just want to mask that off and take that away. And again, I'd rather leave a little bit more here than I need, rather than eat too much into the armour that I've shaped already. Let's just do that. Okay. Group masked, so hide that, delete hidden and close holes. Okay, so I'm just going to polish off the top of the shapes just to remove any traces of the arm from below. And again, this helps me to get that nice smooth transition, to show clearly distinct separate shapes. And you can see here I've eaten into it a little bit too much, and the arm below is actually still protruding through, so I'll just use the move tool to just pull this out a little bit, and here as well. So I want a decent bit of thickness here. Okay. Around the wrist, I want to take that out and give that a bit more of a rounded kind of shape. So I'm just going to take that and just polish that back up to a decent even shape. I might put some spikes on the armour on this guy actually, just to make him a little bit more devilly. I've just done a very spiky dude for Cursed Empire, so if you saw the streams this week, the last stream I did on Monday I think it was, I was sculpting a very, very spiky gentleman, who actually, the test print of that is currently sat on my printer waiting for me to take it off and give it a bit of an inspection. I can reassess then whether or not supports have worked, or if they need to be tweaked or adjusted, or if I need to go back and amend the sculpt. Which, to be fair, I think that's another thing I'd like to cover off on a stream at some point, like reviewing the prints. So obviously it's something I do all the time anyway. So I print, I test print my miniatures and then pull up the finished prints and give them an all-over interrogation, just to see how it's standing up, how it's fared up. We'll close holes. Just dynamesh everything here. Just trim off that top bit. Just trim the bottom bit out. Flatten it off. Okay. Up to the ridge line. Polish, polish, polish. Flatten it back out. Same again. So just alternate both sides. Jobs it. Polish off the top. So I'm just going to go around the outside. Don't need to worry about the middle too much because the middle is properly full on within the bicep, so you're not going to see it. But this outside edge, I want a sharp outer crease, and I want a nice sharp transition into the arm. Okay, so there we go. Right, so the one I've just done here, I copied it. I'm going to take the arms, auto group it, I'm going to delete everything apart from the one arm. I'm going to merge that down. Sorry, I'm going to take that. Let's auto group this. So I'll take that piece and split hidden. So this is gauntlet. I want to duplicate that. So I'm going to mirror and weld that. So we're going to have a gauntlet on both arms. The upper part here, this is the armoured sleeve. So I'm going to merge this down into the arm I've just isolated. So merge down there. And let's just isolate that bit, mask it off. I just want to get rid of that bit in there, just for cleanliness sake. And I'm just going to merge this whole thing together. Okay, so this is the bit where I'm going to do that chainmail texture that I showed you before. And I just need to, because this is like a leather strap that is going to bolt onto chainmail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the strap, I think, is going to come over the top or underneath. We're going to send the chainmail over the top of the strap, so there's going to be a ridge on the chainmail side here, and then we'll have a rivet there, which is obviously, or a pair of rivets maybe, holding the strap in place with the sleeve bit. And I'll do the same on the back again. So we'll have some mechanical fixings, mechanical fixings here. So I'm just going to mask off just the edge where I want to put it. I'm not worried about all this bit back here. It's just this line is what I'm looking at. I'll take that in a touch. And here, just the point when it widens out, so there kind of thing. In fact, just need to just double check and I'll make sure I've got it in the right place back here. So here I need to come out a touch more, so there, that's it. Okay, so I'm just going to double tap with the Alt and Control key, and that will sharpen up the mask. I'm going to invert that, and I'm going to use the Move tool with a large brush size. And I'm just going to pull it out. You see I've just created a bit of a ridge there, and then same again down. So I just want an all-round ridge like that. We'll do the same this side. Just nudge that up, bring it out, and then pull it down. Okay, up, out, down, and then re-dynamesh again. Right, so there we go, we've got the chain form. So again, let's just have a little go at doing this. So the armour, I'll turn it all back on so I can see where I need to bother doing it. We'll go from here. So we're going to do it alternating rows, so we'll do the bottom row like this. Try and keep consistent size with the divots. So I'm just using the Orbs Cracks brush with laser mouse turned off, so I can just carve in a few divots. Now I haven't, but I should have. I haven't got the dynamic tessellation turned on this. So you can see as I'm sculpting in, you can see a little bit of kind of squareness going on, a little bit of tessellation. A bit too much in some places. So what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to quickly do a divide on that, just add an extra layer of geometry. Again, if you're not familiar with like the whole concept of like dividing your mesh, basically just takes each of the little squares that make up the grid of the mesh, each of these little squares. It takes each of these squares and turns it into a, so here is what my base mesh looked like, so I've got all these little squares in here, and then if I increase that and divide it, each of those squares becomes 4 squares. If I divide that again, each of these squares becomes, again, 4 squares. So that one poly with 2 divisions becomes, what's that, 4, 8, yeah, it becomes a lot. It's like 16. Is it 16 or 4? Yes, it's yeah. So with 2 subdivisions, one square becomes 16 little squares. So it becomes an awful lot more smooth when you're doing all this kind of stuff. So yeah, going to go back through. The holes are going to fall roughly between themselves. So here like that. I'm going to lose that under there, so there's no point carrying on. So there's certain areas now, like the arm here, there's going to be an odd transition here. I shouldn't really do all of this just yet because I should pose it first. It's going to be much easier for me to do all of this after posing. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to stop for a second. Right, Tracy, Martin, hope you're both well. Thanks for tuning in. Grace in bed yet, or is she staying up for the night for a bit later? I'm guessing it's half term for you guys as well. It might not be, because I know there's a week's deviation on it usually, isn't there? I don't know how our schools kind of fare in comparison, but a few of these at the back, the bits that aren't going to deform. They were awful. They're not even circular. What's going on with them? Martin, you might recognise this this technique. Doing chainmail. It's basically what I used to do when I was doing green stuff. Except it was a bloody lot quicker in green stuff doing chainmail. There's going to have to be multiple passes to do it, but essentially the plan is I'm going to take this now. I'm going to come in and I'll put my dynamic tessellation on just this. This works alright. I'm going for about resolution about 4. I'm just going to, oh yeah, I can't do that because the thing. So come around here and then we'll go around that way, and then here like that. Basically, we just build up the chainmail effect exactly as it would have been done in green stuff. So where I would have previously done this with a cocktail stick or a little metal awl, I'm doing it with the digital tools instead. So, you know, I do typically tend to try and avoid having to do chainmail because I just hate doing this. For miniatures on like digital minis as well. I don't mind doing this actually. I'd much rather do it this way than the other ways. This is obviously it's quite a time consuming process doing it like this, but I feel like I've got better control over it than trying to do like nano meshes and things. But again, I won't do any more on that until the model's posed. So right, so arms done, bicep, plate. Let me just take this. I'm just going to pull that up like that. Give that some shape to echo some of these forms and whatever. Let's give it a nudge. Let's go use H polish just to clean up the end here because I want it to be sharp. A nice sharp kind of like visual going on with the arms here. I don't quite want it to be, you know, the Daedra in Skyrim. I don't want to quite go to that level of like sharp and pointy and like devilish kind of look. Let's see. Yeah, because I'm doing the chainmail in here now, I'm not going to bother doing the elbow plate. I'm not going to do an elbow guard. So we'll just keep this one here, which do I put straps on? No, I'll just leave that as is. I'll just leave it as a solid chunk. The legs on this guy, then I'm going to do something a bit different with them. Some symmetry on. So again, he'll have a bit of chainmail on his legs in the gaps between the armour plates. He's going to have some big boots on. Or do I give him big baggy trousers? He's going to have pointy toe shoes. I want to try and get some of this Saracen vibe going in because the guys he's going to be with in the game are they're going to be rocking the Saracen look, and I want him to look like he belongs with them. He's going to be distinctly different because he's a demon versus, like, you know, the human guys, but because he comes with a team of 3 of these like Saracen type guys. And what I'm thinking with these, if you ever watched what was that? Oh, what was it called now? The Order of the Light or something like that. And this was in oh, what was that thing called now? What about the Knights Templars? I can't remember what they're called now. Was it the Order of the Light, or was it the Order of the Grail or something? They were like Islamic Templar guys. I can't remember what the program was I watched that they were in. But something along those kind of lines, I think, with the mixture of kind of plate mail, bit of chainmail, and the kind of like the turbans and the kind of the Muslim look, the Islamic kind of Saracen kind of like soldier type vibe. And I think that will come through quite nicely. Then we can like gel, because we're dealing with a fantasy setting, aren't we? It's D&D. It's Faerun and the what do you call it, like Sword Coast and Baldur's Gate and all that kind of stuff. So all of the kind of the setting itself is fantasy, but we'll take a few little kind of like, you know, cultural aspects from different different cultures worldwide and different historical eras and periods and things like that, just to give it a little bit of a different flavour to different groups and factions and things. Okay, so let's do this guy's face, because it bothers me that his face is blank. Let's delete his head. Split hidden. Let's start with this blank template, this blank form. And just going to put a nose in. Eyebrow lines just above the halfway point. So this little crease that's in the middle here, this is the like the top of the jaw here, like there. So bringing round the cheekbones here, kind of thing. So cheeks there, eyebrows here, and then they can kind of meet in the middle. And then we've got the obviously the forehead. That has to do too much modification to the base mesh there. Ears will be kind of here, and that will be to the, is it the top of the eyebrow? Yeah, it's about the eyebrow line for the top of the ear, bottom of the nose for the ear lobes. Let's just put a bit of a bulk up at the tip of the nose. Doesn't matter what it looks like at this point, because I can kind of like polish and chisel it and shape it and everything else, so it's one of the things you want to be careful of. And I want to say it was late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. There was a lot of Games Workshop models that suffer from it. Kind of like penis nose. So when you look at the models, I've got to find an example of one now. But it's something you don't want to kind of like do it by accident. And it's more visible when it's painted with harsh contrast. I think it's Mordheim Witch Hunters, I think is the one I really remember it on. So you get the original Witch Hunters set. That's quite a small picture. Or not. It's going back to the times when Call Me or Not was just a site for posting up your painted models, way before it turned into a Behemoth games manufacturer. No, I can't even find it. I can't find a good picture of it. I'll have to try and find my own painted ones out at some point, and I'll post some pictures up. But they're an age old. But yeah, basically what you end up with is the nostrils on the sides of the nose become very pronounced. They end up with like a dark ring around the outside of the nostril, and then the nose goes up and then stops at like I don't know what you call it there. This part of your nose, just between where your glasses sit. There's like a dark shadow falls there, so you end up with this kind of like a phallic-looking thing on the front of the face. It's quite comical, but obviously if you want to do a nice serious miniature, you don't want that that kind of thing kicking in and distracting people. Right, so I'm going to just put the lips in, just roughly, bit of chin. Right, now side on here, I want this to taper into there a bit more. Top lip I'm just going to bring out a touch. Let me just get a reference up for a Cambion, just see if there's any actual physical description of them. Right, so Forgotten Realms fandom says humanoid creature that's half fiend. The pictures they've got are well, that's the picture they've got. It looks female to me, I think, although it's hard to tell. I don't know if I mentioned it before, I'm colourblind, so red and black is a really bad combination for me to try and like figure out what I'm looking at. Everything's just like a bit of a blurry mess on that one for me. So right, so it says they're sired by a demon lord father and a female humanoid half fiend, so that would be like a tiefling, I expect. So it's a tiefling with a demon dad, basically. Okay. Can't imagine there'll be many of these around then. They won't need me to do more than one, I don't think. I just wanted to make sure they didn't specifically have to be male or female. It doesn't seem to be the case, so we'll do this one as a male one. Well, I have started them as a male one already. Okay, so gouge out the eyes here. So just literally just roughing in like the facial features, and this is in a kind of a miniature painting friendly form as well, so this is not intended to be realistic. I'm stylising this out significantly to make sure it's it's paintable. Okay, so let's carve the mouth in. High intensity on the Z. Let's put the lips in now. I don't want to go further than like the centre line here, so this would be the middle of the eyes. So I don't want to come out past there for the corners of the mouth. So I'm just going to drop the eyeballs in. Like the nose, I'm just going to adjust that down. The tip of the nose is too high. Proportions are all wrong. Okay, let's invert that. No, it was right the first time. With this in now, I'm just going to draw the eyelids on. Just give it a little bit of geometry in there just so I can work with it. The bottom eyelid, I'm just going to sculpt a little bit of something in just to start me off, and we'll hide the unhide the eye, sorry, bring the eye back. I'm just going to zoom in now. I'm just going to do the form of the eyelid. Take a little bit away as well. I want a decent, distinct ridge here. So again, oh god, laser mouse back on. Just going to use the orb cracks brush around the eye line a couple of times. I'm going to go and use the H polish then. Just polish up the eyelids. I want to polish the underside of the eyes, so again we get that clean transition, so the eyelid plane cuts into the eyeball. No overhangs, no underhangs, nothing like that. It's literally just going to be a straight in. Now, now that I've done that, I can just put a bit of shape in here. So I want to raise the top of the eyes. Let's just mask off the bottom. Let's do it with a lasso. Mask the bottom eyelid off. I just want to take the top of the eye here, bring it back. I just want to create an appealing shape, I suppose. Okay, okay, the face is feeling a bit wide at the moment, so I'm just going to taper it in here, bring in the jaw. That's a little bit better. You see I've pushed the eyelid through the eyeball now, which isn't great. I'm just going to pull that back out again. I've got this awful bit in the corner. I've basically met. There we go, that's better. Right, so let's just smooth out some of the facial features now. I'm just going to group polish 800 resolution and Dynamesh. Oh, that wasn't good, was it? Higher resolution than that. Higher again. Right, so we're nearly on 1600 resolution to get to that. You can see it's taken out a lot of the kind of the brush strokes, if you like. So I'm just going to go put some back in. Right, now because this is Demon Lord plus Tiefling, let's make sure the ears are nice and pointed. The face, I'm going to demon up a touch. And obviously he's going to have big horns on his head. Let's just get them out first. Okay. Let's give him a big pointy ear. Not big, but I just want to just drop that whole ear down a touch because that feels better. Bit of internal ear work. Okay, so I'm just going to do this is what I tend to do, like 3 C's or 2 C's. So do one deep one, one slightly less deep one, and then one little shallower one at the top. Run the orb crack brush on the underside there, just to think, and then just line out the inside edge of each of these C's. And then just ridge up the outside one, and then you've got a kind of a simple basic ear going on. Okay. So let's smooth out here. Let's just deal with this bit, because I've got like a pit in the side of his face for some reason. So let's just use the H polish brush to bring that up. So H polish around the sides. On the side of his eyebrow. Top lip. So, very rough, very basic. Male demon face there. We'll come in and give him a few more demon features in a second. We'll give him some maybe like a ridged brow or something like that. Or oops, wrong one. I'm just going to do a little bit of a thing here, I think. Maybe like a little detail collar kind of thing on the bottom of his horns. Cracking knuckles, nice. Let's extract that now. Do an extract. No, way too big. Let's do 294 extracts. Go with it, it might still be a bit big, but delete the internal geometry, close holes. Okay. And I ain't sold on that, let's just adjust a little bit. There we go. Let's bring them down more. Okay, so I just want to get in and sharpen up those edges on here now. So this is the, let's just polish this first. Excuse me. I'm just going to take the, oops, let's take dynamic tessellation off. I just want to take them into points there. Do the same on this side. Polish it up, form it, shape it. There you go. And just this front one. Make sure that comes into a taper. Okay, right, so we've now got, oh actually at the bottom. Hang on, getting ahead of myself. It's just smooth around the edges. So this, I'm thinking, I imagine this being gold, like a little jewel decorative kind of horn cuff, if you like. I don't know, is that a thing? It is now. I'm not going to over detail it because it's such a, I really want to put some extra, like, I imagine that being all carved up and ornate. I really want to make it nice, but again, it's going to be like this big in reality. The fact that it's even there is just enough to be able to paint. So I'm just going to let it ride. I'm just going to let that go. So I'm just going to merge that down so I don't forget to do it. So when I come to pose it, they go with the rest of the model, or the rest of the head at least. We'll give him some hair as well, so probably maybe a ponytail, Hellboy style top knot or something like that. I'm not sure yet. I'll wing it when we get there. We'll see what looks right at the time. Maybe just some long, like free flowing hair. I think he needs to be flying as well, but we'll have a look and see if that's going to work with a pose. He's obviously got wings, or will have wings. So whether or not I do a kind of a flying pose or a levitating type pose, I think might be quite cool. So the gauntlets, we've got the upper arm on this one, there'll be a shoulder pad on there as well. Maybe not, I might just leave it as is, see how it looks. I don't want to overload him with detail. Alright, I'm going to take the legs now. I'm going to go for, obviously going to mask off the legs. And I think I'm going to go for, I'm not going to put a belt on him, I'm going to do a again, this is all free flowing designs work at the moment. I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know how much is going to survive or how much this version the piece is going to resemble what I set out to do at the beginning. Let's get some more Saracen imagery up so I can try and wheedle and integrate some of that look. Okay, so the Saracen guys, they've got these like layers of robes. Which I've obviously stepped away from and omitted. He's not going to have the turban either, so that's going to be a clear kind of, you know, distinction away from what they're looking like. Little turned up shoes. Splint mail seems to be a thing. Or little scale mail, I suppose you call it, look like small armour plates. But lots and lots of robes, baggy trousers, there is chainmail in there, some padded armour. Okay, let's try. Let's go 178 thickness. Oops. Don't forget to accept it. Okay, and we're going to go in delete the internal geometry. Delete hidden and closed holes. So I'm going to give him some baggy trousers. And then over these I might put, we'll either do a chain loincloth or possibly a chain skirt with a couple of armour plate bits over the top. So this is me just bulking up the shape. Again, loose fit in. I'm going to join them all, join them up at the top, so the top of the legs will come together like that. I've got a feeling this guy's going to look more samurai than Saracen by the time we're finished. But we'll see. If he does, then that's fine. I'll go with it anyway. The intention is not to go samurai, but again, as I said earlier, it's fantasy, so yeah, it's just taking inspiration from different settings. Let's see if we can layer them up to make them work and give them a unique aesthetic. Okay. The big baggy trousers, they could come from the Saracens, they could come from the Japanese. There's plenty of synergy there for both. The chain skirt that I'm going to add, how to do it, and also do the Cambions have tails or not? Fifth edition Cambion, they do have tails. Let's give him Let's give him an ornate belt. Oops. Let's extract that. Let's give that a 458 Venus. There we go. Accept. Again, delete the internals. Don't need the internal stuff. Oops. Close holes. Tail as a belt. What you mean is in like wrapping their own tail around themselves, kind of thing. Do you know, I'm going to confess here, I've actually not watched an awful lot of Dragon Ball. I think by the time I kind of got to a point where I was going to watch it, there was like 1,000 episodes or something. So it was one of those things that's like really daunting to try and like start and catch up with, and I've just kind of steered away from it since. I'm pretty sure it'll be up my street, but let's just give this some resolution and polish it. So who is it in Dragon Ball who wears their tail as a belt? Oh, it's like a thing they do, is it? It's not just one cheap ass guy who doesn't want to wear monkey tail belts. I'll have to look at that. That sounds like it could be quite an interesting aesthetic to pinch at some point. And obviously it's a reference that wouldn't escape a lot of people who are fans. Little Easter egg for people, kind of thing. Let's check that. Let's see your image you found there for me. Right. Oh right, I've seen the belt. I did not realise that they had tails. So they've just got random monkey tails that they use as a they use to tie the trousers up. Interesting. Thanks for enlightening me, mate. Okay, let's get this belt cleaned up, polished up, ready to rock. I was going to find the order of the shield. No, Knights of the Shield, sorry. Okay, so like the Knights of the Shield, they're typically showing them as to be honest. They look paladin-y, but it might just be that they're showing me knights with shields rather than knights of the shield. So you let your brain go where it goes, mate. Right, Knights of the Shield. Let's have a little look and see what it says about them. Have they got a sigil? Because I could do with popping it on this guy somewhere. See anything about it. Kind of like a sigil or anything. It's a symbol, a circular shield with a central eye surrounded by diamonds. Okay, so let's do the eye on the front of the belt. And we'll lay a few diamonds in around it just to tart him up a bit. Build some form up on this first. Let's give it a bit of shape and interest. Let's keep the sharp ridges a feature so there is some commonality in there. Let's just get in and polish these. Again, with the polishing, the bigger the polish tool is, the polishing brush, the better the finish you're going to get. Then you do have to just be a little bit careful about overstepping boundaries a little bit with it and kind of encroaching on areas you didn't want to get. So it's better to start large like this. Start with a big brush that you can get a nice smoothness with, and then trade that out for a smaller one when you need finer control, if you need finer control. Right, and here's the screw up. So you can see I've just polished all the front here, I've sharpened it all up, I've got the creases in and all this kind of stuff, and then behind here we've got this obnoxiously flat point, which is basically where the influence of the polishing brush is basically pulled from behind it because it was too thin. So I'm going to inflate this, but it's going to destroy the front surface. There's no way around me doing this. Well, that's a bit extreme, that's a bit far-fetched. There is no real way around this. I'm going to try and turn the back face mask on, see if that will work a bit. I'm just going to go and inflate in here from different angles, just try and build up some mass to the rear of it. And then just do a, there we go. Do a dynamesh and a polish. And then the front is, yeah, the front's actually salvaged on this one. I'm quite pleased with that. Doesn't always work. Let's close the holes on the top. Unless it's, no, it's done the same at the top there. It's only done it on one side, so I'm going to try and mirror and weld. Mirror it first, and then mirror and weld, and it's done it. Okay, I'm going to use the cut tool here, the orbs cracks. Let's pull this bottom bit down there. Again, he's going to have a tail here, so let's take a ridge from here, straight through the middle there, around the back. Dynamesh and then down to the tip. So I can polish that up. Let's just shrink that up a bit. Like that. And again, polishing, when you're polishing, it's important just to remember not to use your dynamic tessellation, because it will not work well. Right, now this bit here is going to be a bit tricky because I need to try and get this. I'm going to try and cut a. I need that going on, so I'm going to have to go in at an angle. So what I'll do is I'm going to mask off to there, get my H polish. I'm going to polish the top part first. And I'm going to invert it. Just use the nudge tool just to move, or the move tool just to nudge that a bit. Let's just get that polished out. And up to my central ridge. And I want to fill the gap, the cavity here between them. You can see I'm going up to the ridge, but it's crossing over at points and giving me like a swell on the one side. So I just need to go back in and just clean that up and just polish that back down. Okay. Okay, so there is my the belt form. Let's just sharpen that edge, bring that in. I want a decent bit of like space around the waist on this belt, because I'm going to put like a skirt around with like a little bit of a chain loincloth kind of thing, I think. So actually putting these trousers on was kind of pointless because I don't think you're going to see them. In fact, yeah, putting a big skirt on there, I can do it quite long. Put some tatters on the bottom. If I do them in like a levitating position, I can mount the the bottom of the skirt to whatever kind of like solid base I decide to give him. So let's do the eye on here first. Just gouge that out just to clean up that top line. So we're going to do we're going to give it a dynamesh with a resolution boost first. One sphere in the middle there. And I'm just going to take the sharpen up this thing because it's starting to look like a weird nose or odd face or something. Okay, let's go with that. It needs a few diamonds in, so I'll just leave the diamonds off. I'll leave the diamonds off. They're not essential for this this belt, I don't think. Let's just notch this a little bit. And oops, let's just cut that in. Oops, no, too big. Just want to get this nice and sharp into the corner there. Let's group this and polish it. Well, I haven't left that in a very nice state, have I, right here? Let me just clean that up. Right then, so how much longer have I got? Maybe about another half an hour. Okay, so I'm going to let's do his wing. Let's try wing. Duplicate, let's take the arms, delete the rest. Okay, I'm just going to extend and stretch the arms. Shrink them as well and make them longer. Rotate them up. Okay. Let's just reform the shoulders a bit. Bring them back down. I want to keep the elbow. The forearms are okay as they are. Let's just stretch them up a touch. Let's get one of my hand meshes. I say mine. I use them. Didn't make them. The IMM hand blockouts. So let's just draw them on the ends here. That's quite a good one actually for what I'm after. That was mutated. Is that one mutated B3? Yeah, mutated B3. Let's see if any of us fit the bill a bit better. There's a couple of odd finger shapes and sizes that might do, but not this one. No. Let's go with the mutated. Mutated B3. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the hands on here. So I'm going to do the wings as basically like arms with big long fingers, and then we're going to build the web in between them. So I'm just going to use the fingers of this. So the thumb is going to be at the front. Oops, let's just auto group this. So the thumb will be at the front. I'm not going to worry about what's happening on the other side because, oops. I can just mirror it all over. So we'll have the thumb here, we'll extend that right down. Okay, so one of them goes there, the next one also, this is only my starting point on these, so there's room for manoeuvre on them yet. Right, so this is the middle finger, so this one needs to be the longest digit. tricky up here trying to get all of this. I have to reposition the last few digits, so let's just take this finger. Let's and then one last digit. I'll tell you what, I had my dinner just before I came down to the office to do this tonight, and I'm starving already. I am. And the bad news is tonight's stream, in terms of numbers and stuff, I was kind of hoping to have the numbers up on previous streams just because of it being an evening, and possibly picking up a few of the American audience who miss out on the usual early morning one. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to have done the job. I've had about 3 or 4 viewers through most of the stream, so to those of you who have stuck around, thank you. I think next I might give this this slot a chance a little bit just to see if it does pick up a bit of steam. But equally, I'm kind of not expecting it's going to do an awful lot more, so I might end up reverting back to previous streaming schedule, going daytimes again. But I'll do another couple of weeks of Wednesday evenings first and see how it looks. So, dude, I don't doubt that at all. Considering you're here, whether I'm streaming at 10 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night, there's a there's some definite either commitment from your point or kind of sleep deprivation issues. But I appreciate it anyway. Okay, so there's the structure for the wings ish. Let me just get up and sort out the hand bit at the top. Just gotta pull this down, make it fit. So that is obviously horribly mangled, but it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to merge all of this together now by group masked. Let's just check the colourings. Right, the one thing I just want to deal with here is on each of these end digits there is a finger and a fingernail, or fingertip and a fingernail. I don't want the 2 bits to be separate. And I don't mind doing this too much because I know full well I'm going to be back in using this same asset, so these wings are going to get saved down and they're definitely going to get reused again and again and again. At least as a starting point, you know what I mean. Right, move topological. Let's just get in and sort some of these squiff bits here. Right then, so Dynamis resolution about 1500 with group and polish on. Okay, right, so this piece here now where I've got all this horrible stuff going on at the top. Just going to do a little bit of sculpting on it, just to try and regulate it out a bit. So I'm just going to use the trim tool to just shape and pull and move and make stuff happen here. Just smooth that out first. I'm just going to use the inflate tool with no dynamic subdiv on. I'm just going to inflate the tips of these wings because where they've come off the base mesh they're a bit thin. I want a decent strong connection point to this. There we go. I think I'm going to stop there because I'm not going to have a chance to get this membrane done tonight. So I'm going to call it quits, stop where I am, and so there we go. That's as far as I got with him tonight. So I've got a nice armoured gauntlet. Younger blood, how are you doing? Thanks for joining the stream. Yes, I was saying I've got a nice, I've got a hand that I sculpted, an armoured hand from one of the models I did recently, where he's got some decent clawed fingers going on. So I'm going to rob the hand off that and save myself a bit of time, drop that onto this guy, so he's got his like clawed hands. I'll be doing the skirt on him, which actually, do you know what, I might just do that now. Let's just add the skirt on now. So he's gonna be in a flying position, I think. I'm gonna go for a kind of a very, was it Saint Celestine from the GW Sisters of Battle range, where she's like flying. I'm gonna go for a similar kind of aesthetic as that. So let's just pop this skirt. It's going to be like a three-quarter coverage thing. So we'll go 3/4 of the way around. Move it into position roughly. Now when I pose him up, there'll be some movement for like wind effects on the model, plus a little bit of movement energy coming in, and I'll obviously have to allow for that consistently across the whole model. So that'll affect how the cloth moves and everything else. And then, as I said, the plan is there'll be something on the base, like a rock or a branch, or a bit of tree or something like that, that will be connected to this skirt, and that'll give him some elevation. So there may be a few like chains. I might do chains. I might do a few little chains hanging off his hanging from that belt, and drape them down to the floor as well, so he's got an additional point of contact, because it's always good to have more than one contact point on a model. Good. What are you up to this evening then? You just chilling or watching a bit of telly? Or is it not evening for you, perhaps? So I'm on 11:15 UK time at the moment, so we'll be wrapping up shortly. I know people are all over the place. That's the one thing you can never take as a given when you're seeing people popping up in the thing. You could be sitting here in the middle of the night watching it on your phone or something. So, okay. Let's add a little bit of resolution here. I'm going to do a Dynamesh, about 1000 res polish. I'm just going to hollow this out, and what I want to do, I'm just going to I don't want to take it all the way through, but I want to thin it right out. Oh, 3 AM. Oh god. That's ungodly hours, that is. What kind of art are you doing? Anything interesting? You on commissions or just personal stuff, or? I used to always find myself working really late. Like the creativity part of my brain used to switch on like super late. So I'd be sitting there kind of doing a bit of miniature painting or some sculpting or something like that, and I'd get into the flow, and I'd end up starting kind of like 9 o'clock at night or whatever, and you know, the wife would fall asleep, and I'd still be going and, you know, cracking on with the miniatures and stuff. And before I knew it, it was like 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and I used to do it all the time. And since we had kids, I ain't got a chance of doing it. I just can't anymore. The level of energy that they drain out of you on a daily basis, and it's just silly things, but like just sitting there going, Dad, wipe my bum, Dad, I'm hungry, can I get a snack, Dad. You get like every. Have you ever seen What We Do in the Shadows, the vampire mockumentary kind of thing? It's there's a guy in there called Colin Robinson. I think it's Colin Robinson, and he's an energy vampire. And I'm sure that's kids. Like he literally he doesn't drink people's blood. He just drains their energy from them by annoying the piss out of them constantly. And I think kids are the same. I think kids are energy vampires. If you've not watched What We Do in the Shadows, I'd definitely encourage it as well, because it's just I think there's a film of it, and then there's a British TV series, and it was just hilarious. It was really, really funny. That's it. Not being bothered by anybody, just literally kind of just, you know, get on with stuff, doesn't it? But I used to be terrible for it. I'd do these like long sessions, kind of late into the night or whatever, and I'd forget to like have a drink or eat, and you know, I'd be so in the zone. You know, I'd like look up and I'd be like 5 hours have passed, and I haven't like, you know, had a drink or anything to eat, and it's not until you kind of like snap out of it, you kind of go, oh God, I'm starving. You know, you're like raiding the fridge in the middle of the night. And yeah, I think 11 o'clock is about my cut off at the moment, to be able to kind of, you know, get anything done. If I'm doing procedural things where I can just like, you know, it's a process, I've got the illustrations there and stuff, I can just do that. But when I'm doing what I'm doing now, where let's say this whole model so far is concepted in 3D on the fly, so doing something like this takes a lot more brain power. So it's always that little bit more hard work. So I'm going to put a few hints of material into this skirt, but not too much, because again there's gonna be like flow from the wind and stuff. I could put that in now, couldn't I? Actually, because I've taken symmetry off. Let's just put a little bit of direction in. Let's go backwards and to the side. So let's go to the right. Let's bring that out there. So Younger Blood, where about in the world are you then? If it's 3 AM, that's 4 hours ahead of me. So What's that got to be? Got to be a few times over to the east, hasn't it? So that's got to be through Europe, Eastern Europe, maybe. Mediterranean. Fair play. I love listening to Mike when he's on. Actually, I find his voice very kind of like soothing, and the little gems he quips out just always crack me up. It's one of the things as well when you don't have actual people around you for work. So I've been doing this now since January 2020 as a full-time job, and prior to that I've worked in offices where I've had hundreds of people around me, literally like spending all day talking to people and going in meetings and things like that, and teleconferences, video conferences, to go from daily mass interactions with people to like literally the only person I speak to on a daily basis is my wife and my kids, in person. You know what I mean? It's always takes a little bit of adjusting. But I enjoy my own company as well. I'm a bit of a, I don't know, I've always been that kind of, I can just entertain myself. Sculpt. I've got enough hobbies, do you know what I mean, to just like to pass the time without having to deal with people. So I'm going to go for that. I might put a few like armour bits out here on the outside of the skirt. Yeah, it's always nice, isn't it, to see other people doing the same kind of things that you do and how they kind of like, approach it. I've watched some of Dave Whittaker's stuff, Titan Troll. He's helped me out a couple of times with some like tips on things, but he's Dave's one of these artists who's never really got into the hobby as such. He's not a hobbyist; he's a CG artist, and I think he studied like 3D art, so he has gone and got all this kind of like Maya and like 3D Studio Max kind of background, and he does a lot of stuff where he's doing poly modelling and like extrusions and vertices and things like that, and it's not how I work at all, but it's always interesting to see how other people do it. Ah, thank you. I'll tell her thanks for Pakistan. It was a little bit more east than I was expecting, actually. I kind of lost it after the Mediterranean, but it wasn't a million miles out. I'll pop a link in the if you got an Instagram or anything like that, fire it into the stream. I'll check it out and give you a follow. Same for you, Wilkie. Actually, I know we've talked a little bit. I know you're doing like 3D work. If you got any got like an online portfolio of like Instagrams and stuff like that, then pop your link in the chat and I'll go check it all out. Oh, I missed your comment as well, Youngblood, earlier on about the original character. What's the character you're making there? Is it anything? Is that an interesting one, or is it? So I've just had to. It's only a Hero Forge one, but I did a model for a friend today. For like their character for D&D. I'm like trying to find some of the options and things like that. It's a hard slog. I wish I'd just had a bit more foresight and planning to be able to kind of do it as a sculpt, so I can actually do it properly. But yeah, well, you should set yourself up like a little Instagram page or ArtStation or something like that, and just load up a little portfolio. Even if you're not planning on doing anything with it commercially, it's always nice to just have something to just showcase your work on and host your stuff. But a knife made up of my exo. Ah, right. Ah, nice. Sounds cool. One of the things I did for what's his name now? Jazza. He did I did a character called Scrap for him. He was a bit of an odd character. It wasn't really my my usual kind of character, like sculpt. It was quite cartoony. But he wanted this guy. This is like a young kid who was like lived on a scrap planet where he just like went round. Let me just go check that out, mate. Yeah, he used to go around. He goes around and like harvest like scrap and like makes machines and things, and he's doing a lot of like kind of custom builds. And one of the things I had to do with him was it was a big robot arm. So he got this huge, great big, this big mechanical kind of arm. And it was like what do you call it now? Like it wasn't in place of his arm. It was like he was wearing it as a sleeve with like pistons and all that kind of stuff. God, having to try and design that from like looking like it was like broken robots and things like that. That was hard, tough going, man. So I feel for you. Oh, I've got some nice. I like your cartoons here. I was going to bring this down and just show this because this is really nice work actually. I know you said you don't use the Instagram a lot, but I'm liking the robot characters. The heads are lovely. The head pieces are ace. It's like very like Ultron-esque, isn't it? This guy. Oh, is this your character? Is this what you're? This what you're saying about the weapon? The weapon coming from someone like this guy, is it? Yeah, I thought the same thing actually when I saw it in the thumbnail, the Guyver. I used to love that. I remember going to my local video shop and like renting them all out on VCR a few years ago. Some nice weapon designs. Very nice. Let's give you a follow on that. There we go. Yeah, I can see a little bit of Ultron in there, but still very much original as well. This one I really like. You've done a cracking job on that one. And this one. Ooh. Right. Oh, my shoulder. Oh, nice. Do you know, I saw God, I can't remember who it was now. I'm sure it was a female artist, and she was doing these really fantastic models. No, sorry, they're not models. They looked like a 3D model when she did them. And what she was doing, she was basically painting. She started the painting with ambient occlusion. So she would literally just a white sheet, and then she'd just do all of the AO kind of like shadows on the whole thing, and she got it down to such an art that it literally looked like if I do this now in here, and I pull up. Let's do a BPR, and then I go to render. And render pass. So if I pull up this is it shadow? Yeah. If I pull up this shadow layer. Oh God, where did I just save that now? Sculpts. Okay. So if I if I pull this shadow layer up, and what she was basically doing, she was painting. So it looked like this. Yeah, let me just grab my Discord channel. You can post some bits of ouch. I've got a few places you can put some stuff in self promotion on there if you like, and there's another channel for Instagram links, I think it was, or yeah, share your Instagram on there. Let me just grab the invite. Ah, thank you, Wilkie. You beat me to it, mate. There we go. Waste no time. Righty then. Yeah, so basically this model here now, or this image you can see on my screen. So this is the ambient occlusion on that model. So, and what this woman was doing was she would paint this as a 2D painting. So doing all of the shadows and everything like this, and then obviously when she starts like rendering up colour and everything, this becomes like a beautiful 3D looking image then. And it's basically reverse engineering the kind of the layers and stuff you would output from like Zbrush. So what's that? It's like I'm getting spammed on YouTube Live by hot girls here. Let's go and can those comments in a little bit and get rid. Right now, guys, there's just the two of you lingering around now. It's late for both of you from the sound. Well, not for you, Wilkie. It's probably bedtime for you now, though, because you're going to be up in the middle of the night soon again. I've got a family day out tomorrow. We're taking the kids to a place called Umberside Adventure, which is like one of these the high rope type places, but except a bit lower down. So it's great for the little ones. So I'm gonna knock off and go and get my head down, watch a bit of telly with the wife before bed, and I'll probably continue this guy. I'll probably finish him off offline, to be honest, but I'll make sure when I do the chainmail and stuff, I'll save that down and probably do a little bit of a record of that and post that onto my YouTube channel, so it's there as a reference. But yeah, I'll be back online again Monday for a Cursed Empire stream. I'll be doing probably the Wednesday one again. Nice. Let's see how are we doing here, Youngblood. Very good. No way. Can't even close it now. Well, I have to say, it's cool, but they hurt my eyes, man. I'm really badly colourblind, so like red and black next to each other for me, they are like the two colours that you can put together that will literally just melt my brain. If you put like a really bright vivid green next to the red, that absolutely kills me, and so does like a really bright vivid blue. But red and black is just, it's one of these combinations. I end up using it because I have to for like painting models. It just feels right to do it, but God, it kills me doing it. It does. Oh no, mate, it's not your fault at all. It's like, it's a generally accepted what do you call it, colour scheme, isn't it? It's the colours that go together for most people. I say for me, I'm just unfortunate in that, like, so the colour blindness has the red and blue and the red and green together. They're the worst ones because they are like, they make me go in like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's like I almost get like an instant migraine with those combinations, if they're the right kind of like vibrancies. Do you know what I mean? Like just a muted red and a muted green together is not too bad, but you get that really bright, vivid green, and then I haven't, but I'm not colourblind in that way, so I can see colour. It's oh god, how to explain? So like with the black and red, for example, I can't distinguish the two when they're together. I can see red and I can see black, and I can see red and black when you put them together. But when you start doing like intricate patterns of red, like this character, I can kind of make it out a little bit, but there's a lot of stuff I can't even see on there because I can't physically focus in to like pick out the red from the black. And where you've got like different gradients of red, and you've got different tones and stuff, I can't really deal with that. I can't like pick it apart. So like when I paint models and have to use red in a miniature, I do it based on like memory of where I've painted the red previously. So again, I've got this guy as an example. I don't know where my gradients are on it. I'll just show you. I don't know where the gradient is on that blend on the cloak for the highlight. So obviously I've painted it red. I've used black, I think, to tone it down and darken it, and then like skin colours and things like that to kind of like lighten it, and then red glazes over the top to bring it all back into like a red profile, so it went a bit pink at one point. But if I break midway through that paint job and then try and come back to it on another day, I'm going to have to start the whole thing again, because I don't know where the gradient starts and stops, and it's quite difficult to try and re-establish it then. It's a really weird one. I've learned to cope with it and learned to deal with it, so it's not a huge deal. But yeah, it's weird, man. It's a... I love the hobby. I love everything about it, but it's challenging, man. It is a challenge. So, but again, weirdly, I would think that my eyesight would be deteriorating as I get older. But I think I'm better with colour now than I ever have been previously. It's almost like it's got better. And I don't know if it's because I'm doing more of it and I'm working with it more, and my eyes are training to kind of adjust or deal with stuff. But yeah, it's weird. I can't see things like laser pens and things like that either. I can't see red lights at all. So like when you get like a projected red light, like a red light, like a traffic light, I'm fine with, because it's a light behind a red lens, so I can see the light kind of glowing and whatever. But like if you've got like a digital calculator or that use like, you know, the red displays, I can't see them at all. Digital alarm clocks with the red displays, can't see them. Laser pens, no chance, unless it's the blue ones or the green ones or something like that. I can see them fine, but the red ones I just can't see. So yeah, it's just a bit of a weird one. And I remember when I was at school, there was a girl who was our PE kit was like a black trousers and a red top. When she found out that I was colourblind and I couldn't see red, she got all like sheepish around me with PE, and basically she thought that because I couldn't see red that I couldn't see anyone's PE tops, like any of the t-shirts they were wearing. I was just watching everyone running around topless, and I'm not Superman. It's not X-ray vision. It's the colour. You know, the clothing item still exists. It's still there. So, yeah, people have weird conceptions about it all, but funny times though. But right, on that note, gents, I am going to knock it on the head. I'm going to say good night and leave you guys to it. And yeah, keep your eye on the Discord and Facebook page and stuff. If I'm going to do any ad hoc streams, I'll pop a notice up and advertise them anyway. But next planned one will be Monday, I think now. So back to normal after the kids are back at school. Right, guys, thanks again. I was going to log off. I'm not going to try and raid out or anything. So have a lovely day, and thank you for spending the time with me.